Ready to go.
Okay. Good morning and welcome back. You ever have one of those days when everything goes right when you're trying to make it go wrong? Now, I run around looking for equipment that doesn't run all the time. It's the only way to keep material going for the page. And this week I bought a few blowers, I got a mini bike, I got all sorts of cool stuff. And the first thing I put on the shelf thinking, okay, I'll do this for Tuesday's video. So I go on the shelf and I grab the first thing on the shelf and I said, oh, this little Murray blower, it looks good. And it kicked. And it started. I didn't even put gas in it. And it works great. So we moved to the next thing on the shelf. Now, if I was flipping machines and not using them for content, that would have been a major win. But having them start like that, it's not a win for me. It just means that it's one more thing that just moves through the building. So I found this little Echo, and it's got its own little problems. It's got a C1U K42 carburetor, which is super, super common. And the old Echo's use them. The new Echo's use an entirely different one. They use a barrel carburetor. But we're going to take this one, and we're going to get this old Echo running. We're going to rebuild the carb and see how she sounds. So let's get started. And the only hard part about doing videos on blowers is they're very left-handed. So I have to hold them at funny angles to get decent camera time. Okay, now we're going to loosen the fuel cap. And it's got a little something in there. And it looks like somebody did the fuel lines. They just didn't do the carburetor for whatever reason. So we'll decide if we like those in a minute. Okay, now that we got the carb off, we'll push this off to the side. Notice we're not tightening the cap. If you tighten the cap, then gas is going to start backing up through these. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is pull the carburetor apart. And that's just a couple of screws. These come apart pretty easy. And here's the magic. That right there. You get two little flaps, and they'll get worn through time, and they'll get at awkward angles. And next is a metering diaphragm on the other side of the carburetor. Now, let's see how that looks. You can see it's got dents in it and things. It's a little bit crunchy, but it's not terrible. Okay, so next up, we're going to go ahead and get the carburetor all cleaned up. Now, you can soak this overnight in carb cleaner. I prefer to run it in an ultrasonic with pine sol in it. I use about 10 or 15% pine sol, and the rest of it is just plain old distilled water. I used to use regular water in the ultrasonic, but I switched over to distilled because I found that the regular water can leave deposits, and deposits inside the carburetor can make it permanently terrible. So I'm going to go get this cleaned up, and we'll be back shortly. Now, since I do this all the time, I've got a little box full of carburetor goodies. And the K42, which is this carburetor, is super, super common. So I've already got a set of diaphragms set up. But if you're ordering yours, take this and hold it up to the screen on the computer and compare every single hole in your old one to your new one. Because every little groove and everything has to match completely, or it's the wrong one. Okay, now that we've got the body all cleaned up, next thing we'll do is get rid of the primer bulb, put a new primer bulb on it. Now pay attention with the primer bulb. See, it goes one way. Notice, won't bolt on, will bolt on. So now, we're going to take our new gasket and get it in place. You got a couple little retainer pins here, so you really can't do that backwards. We'll put our fuel gasket in place on top of it. Get it all lined up nice and neat. Now what we're going to do is we're going to hold this with one finger and rotate it over on top. And the reason we're holding that is the idle screw touches it. Now we'll get our screws in, and that's just about it. Okay, and on the other side, we'll put the gasket and the metering diaphragm in. We need to find a gasket for the metering diaphragm. There we go. We got a matcher there. You got a little hook on this that makes it a little bit easy. Up, 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 up. Unless you do it backwards. And there goes diaphragm, gasket, carburetor. And there we go. And still the carburetor is ready to go. Just a matter of installing her, getting the fuel lines back on it, and watching her run. Just like the other one, we put it on, but we don't tighten it any. I felt the tiniest little bit of snug on that one. That one's good. Okay. Okay, this one, because of the nature of the carburetor, we're going to put the carburetor on first and do the fuel line second. Like this. And the reason we're doing it this way is this linkage is tricky to get on with fuel lines on. Usually you toss the fuel lines on first. Come on, buddy. There we go. That's nice and tight. Okay. Let's scoot you out of the way. Drop the air filter cover on. And that's about it. This is probably the only blower in the whole world that you just use a Phillips on. It's most common for the bolts on the carburetor itself to be Phillips, but usually this is something else. It could be a 10 millimeter. Could be just about anything. So let's put an air filter on or a tester. Put a little fuel in it. Okay, let's see how she runs. Okay, lots of priming. Lots of choke. She's turned on. Sounds pretty good. I almost pointed this tripod. Now you can hear it. Sounds pretty good for an old blower. So she came out pretty nice. Now I tell you guys all the time that it's a lot easier to just replace the carburetor than it is to rebuild it, and that'll always be true. And 90% of what you're pulling off is a Chinese carburetor, so it really doesn't make any difference. You're changing a Chinese carburetor with a Chinese carburetor. That was not a Chinese carburetor, so we went ahead and rebuilt it, and we saved it. And it came out real nice. It was definitely worth the extra 15 minutes. So, all you new people out there, if you made it this far, you might as well subscribe. It's free, and it's what we work for. So, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.